Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Dark Elves led by Catholic Alcoholic facing off against the Vampire Counts, who shall be helmed by Subutai here on the Terracotta Graveyard. And it is going to be, we got some Medusas as well as the big old War Shrine here for Hellebron James. Now, what does this thing actually do? Let's take a look. I know it has a couple buffs. So we do have the Fury of Cain, which of course makes one of your allies rampage, but also makes them do a lot more damage. So if you do get a fight that you want to commit to, like a grind, let's say you get some good quality infantry like Sisters of Slaughter, Witch Elves, Coldland Knights, whatever, Dread Knights, into a heavy duty fight, they're not going to be running, this could be a pretty decent little buff. On top of that, we do have the Gaze of Cain, which is an AoE version of that, so it gives you a big damage buff and does cause rampaging, which is always fun. And she does have the Curse Blade, which is an item that was obscenely powerful when it first came out, but it's kind of like a Walmart Mortis Engine effect now, with conditions. Bloodrack Medusas are pretty decent here. Honestly, they can fight off the vampiric monsters up close if they get attacked by like Vargulfs or even the zombie dragons. Of course, they will lose too, but two of them can fight off a zombie dragon probably. And then from there, they can use their laser beam eyes to poke down Graveguard, shoot at Cryptors, Corpse Carts, whatever. So pretty cool. Bleak Swords, and on the low ground here, it is going to be a core of Bleak Swords backed up by some Shards of Darkness and a Burning Head caster, which is no surprise to anybody, really. Burning Head, very good against the undead. Now for the armies of Subutai, it is going to be your classic Vampire Count army. Zombies, Skeleton Spears, Skeletons, Cryptors. This is like the most iconic combo of units for Vampire Counts. If you guys are newer, don't leave home without this. You get your zombies, you get your skeletons as your meat shield, with the Corpse Cart augmenting their capabilities and providing healing. And then you also get Cryptors to really actually do the damage, which is pretty cool. Graveguard are also very good too, though. They're a very viable option, but typically having this big core of haggardness is very good. And we got skeletons here. Yep, so really nothing of like substance in the infantry game, mainly chaff with Cryptors and Corpse Carts. Necromancer is going to be on a Corpse Cart as well, which of course, if you guys are newer, provides healing via the Unholy Lodestone and also the Vigor Mortis, which gives a base stat line increase. And the big heavy hitter, just like in, I guess in tabletop with Vampire Counts, they can go wider without having a big vampire carry. I know in the older editions that I've talked to some of the OGs in fantasy, Vampire Counts used to be really be carried by their Vampire Count and their characters. But in the current rendition, Necromancers and things like that can do just fine. So it is going to be a Von Chadstein Lord, and what he brings to the table is Storm of the Night. So if there is a big flying monster or flying character like a Black Dragon, which is what Subutai looks like he was expecting, it can lock that character down and do some pretty good damage. Nonetheless, let's fast forward to get this battle going here. Hellebron James going to be jumping on objective number 2 here. And now we're going to be seeing the laser beam of Bloodrack Medusas. And they're really good against infantry for sure. You can see they laser beam down those skeletons. Don't kill any models, but do a lot of HP damage. And they should get another volley before all is said and done. In the meantime, on the backside here, we do have Hellebron James rolling up on the objective here, just waiting for the inevitable horde of the Vampire Counts. And it looks like the Dark Elves kind of want to take a blob fight here a little bit. Subutai getting extra sneaky, calling out some Hex Wraiths. So they can be okay here, but there is a fair amount of magic damage on the Dark Elf roster. I mean, I guess via mostly their magic, not actually units. You do have the Doomfire Warlocks, which would probably counter these Hex Wraiths pretty hard, but I don't know if Catholic would bring those. We'll have to see. So he's going to be reforming ranks here, getting his Bleak Swords in position. Dark Shards in position as well. Subutai going to be taking objective 1. So it looks like it's basically just going to be more of a land battle style engagement over objective 2. Not going to be any super crazy play on multiple points here. And there's the first Flock of Doom. So that's kind of a cool element of the Von Karstein Lord. He does have Flock of Doom and Raise Dead and Invo. So he's got a little bit of decent crowd clearing there. And now Subutai's army is going to be crushing down from the hill. The Legions of the Dead charging, preparing to swarm on the Druki. In response here, we do see the Bloodrack Medusa shooting its laser beams in, and one Skeleton Spear unit is also, basically dead, which is pretty powerful. And Crone Hellebron able to roll through these zombies, doing some respectable damage. Granted, they are just zombies, so it's to be expected. On the backside, we do get a bit of a surround here. Dark Shard shooting in, and the Hex Wraiths are ambushed by the Dark Elf reinforcements. Hex Wraiths will defeat, Dark Riders, but honestly, it's a pretty good engagement here for the Dark Elves, considering the Medusas do magic damage with their laser beams. Oh, that's actually a really nice counter against the Hex Wraiths, too. So, frontline fighting here. The Dark Elves are going to be engaging against the Skeletons. Subutai does manage to steal objective 2, so the Dark Elves do retreat back off that. Zombie summon going down on the Dark Shards after a beautiful breath attack here from the Vampire Counts. And now the big Von Karstein Lord going to be attacking into the Bloodrack Medusa, and it will win that fight, like I said. It has a much better stat line. It's very hard, but if the numbers start to add up, it could become a little bit precarious. Hellebron here, able to wear down some of the spears. Zombies doing quite well, and the Hex Wraiths, being a very rough investment back there, are going to be fleeing as Subutai calls in the counterplay, which is going to be Dire Pack. Dire Pack is a great tool at just chewing down light cab because they do have anti-large. Now, as far as this fight goes, it looks like Hellebron is going to get attacked, and we do see, oh, look at that, the Fury and Gaze of Cain Massive stat line, 683 weapon strength on those Medusas right now. That is pretty fat, and one of them actually does attack into the Von Karstein Vampire Lord, which is pretty substantial, right? This one has 488. It didn't have both of the buffs, but it is doing some really good damage against the Von Karstein Lord. But here we do see Catholic in danger of losing Crone Hellebron, as Chariot characters are usually pretty terrible against Dragon characters. In Tabletop, it's not. I guess Chariots in Tabletop can kind of fight against Dragons. It depends on what's mounted on the Chariot. Chariots in Tabletop are actually one of the best units in the game as a mount option because they're immune to Killing Blow and Monster Slayer. So if you have like a Chaos Lord on a Chariot, you can really sauce him up. He's a pretty powerful fighter, and he's immune to those Killing Blow mechanics, which are very meta and competitive. Now, Subutai on the other side is going to be wrestling out Objective 3, maybe. We do see the Wraiths coming in, but Bleak Sword's going to be surging forward with Crone Hellebron. She doesn't do magic damage, but still a decent little fighting presence. And she does have the Sword, which I don't remember the activation. Okay, affects enemies if they're losing in melee combat. Yeah, okay. So that is the requirement here, but it does look like the old Vampire Count's getting a nice blob going here, but you have to remember a lot of their units are very low quality, and the Dark Elves have now called in some, grinding pieces to really cut through all the different chaff, and now Murderous Prowess is active as well, so the Druchii forces are going to be extra sauced against the Undead here. The Black Guard are going to get these zombies to crumble pretty quickly, but Subutai doing a pretty good job stuffing his opponent back. Meanwhile, though, the Catholic here, very, very sneaky play up on the high ground, does get some Dark Riders up here. And it looks like Subutai did not react quick enough. He didn't call it any fast cab or anything like that, and that is going to be grabbed. The counterplay here for Subutai is going to be the Feasters in the Dust. Not a bad idea. They'll get to that objective quickly. They can beat a Dark Rider unit, and they will be able to get that back with capture weight from the Dark Rider's worst-case scenario. Down on the low ground, we still see the Druchii fighting it out. They do have a foot-based Death Hag fighting, as well as Bloodrack Medusas. The Witch Elves able to murder Hobo the Chaff units, but we do see Crone Hellebron looking pretty beat up here. 500 HP. She's going to be trying to flee through this. But the Von Karstein Lord also took a lot of damage, not only from fighting Hellebron for a moment off camera, but also from the Dark Shards. I believe some Dark Shards were shooting. I was actually watching this game live, so I vaguely remember that. But here we do see the Von Karstein Lord chasing. If the kill does go down on Crone Hellebron, that's going to be pretty strong, but some super sweaty micro here by Catholic. He's juking with those wheels there, but I think inevitably Subutai will catch him, get that pick, and that is going to be a negative 15 leadership penalty to the Dark Elf army, which will then stabilize to 10. But now we get the big heavy hitters called in, the Sisters of Slaughter. These units are pretty damn good in this matchup, in my opinion. Anything that, like, elite grindy infantry can be really good against Vampire Counts, as long as they don't get hit with, like, the Dragon Breath attack. So in a situation like this, kind of in the late game where things are a little bit more chaotic, this could be very, very good. Crone Hellebron somehow has returned. No more Lord Unsummoning in Domination mode, in case you guys are rejoining from the days of old. So we finally managed to get that changed, which is one of my favorite changes we have gotten. And down goes Crone Hellebron, though. The Beasts of the Night were able to get the job done. So the Cryptors and the Vargheists did get some big damage there. And, that is a very, very good one because the Dark Elves are pretty substantially ahead on value. Obviously, the Lord kill there is pretty big, but the Druchii, being ahead by 3,000, with healing taken into account from, like, Invocations and Corpse Carts and different things like that, maybe it's like a 2,000, maybe 1,800 value lead, but that's still pretty substantial here. And the Dark Elves have really good leadership. They're not a faction that's going to be suffering terribly. From losing their Lord. It still is really bad, obviously, but it's not as bad as like Greenskins or Skaven, where the base leadership on your units is quite a bit lower. So Sisters of Slaughter bumping and grinding, taking some casualties, but for the most part, they're able to really chew through the chaff units. And honestly, with their good stat line of 50 and 58, they should be able to deal with Cryptors as well and be a solid counter against both those. Here we get the Dark Riders charging downhill against the Feasters of the Dusk. Might be able to get the kill on that. Looking at the score so far, Catholic is up 600 against 500, give or take, about 498 right now as it rapidly closes in. Objective 3 owned by the Dark Elves. Objective 2 is in flux. We do see some Cairn Race being called in, a bit of a cheeky choice, and they are a fast capture weight reinforcement unit. They do have Terror, which can be useful, especially after somebody's Lord has died, but there still are Medusas online, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Cairn Race against Black Guard isn't a bad choice, and against Sisters, they probably still get mulched, but will, being an ethereal unit, hold a little bit longer against that particular unit. So creepy golems up here. The Feasters and the Dusk and Company have done their business, chasing down the Dark Riders. And where did the Vampire Lord go? Is it back here? Oh, so the Vampire Lord goes deep into the enemy backfield, which I think is a pretty big mistake. Obviously, he's trying to keep the Dark Riders from getting on top of his high-value pieces. But in fighting back here, he's very overextended, and his opponent can just call in fast, missile units and maybe snipe him down here, which is what's going to happen. The Dark Rider Repeater Crossbow is going to be reforming ranks, doing a tactical reform, using all of their movement, yes, and shooting into the Von Karstein Vampire Lord, which is in a very, very dangerous position. So here comes the shot, I would imagine. The crossbows have lined up. Looks like the incoming zombies maybe juked him out a little bit. Now the Vampire Lord is down, which is very, very rough. Granted, it's not like it would have been super safe over here either. Those missile units could have followed the Dragon Lord all over the place. Granted, I think for the sake of the vampires, pulling back the Dragon Lord, keeping it back here, and just letting it, sit and be out of range of enemy threats, where if they want to come for it, you can then use your hounds to screen them. It's better than just taking a fat leadership penalty on your whole army. Undead, they don't have the best base leadership. So, big breath attack, not breath attack, but burning head, a caster spell, going down to the Feasters in the Dusk, hitting both Crypt Ghouls, and now we see Catholic with reverse triple cap here, so he is able to get all the caps. He takes the high ground with some Dark Riders and tattered Bleak Swords. Middle objective does go to the Dork Elves as well, and this is going to become very scary for the Vampire Counts. I think they have lost their momentum. Their Lord going a little bit too balls deep in the backfield, a lot of crumbling here. And the value trading overall was much better for the Dork Elves. We just didn't see... Yeah, the Lord play was good from Subutai. He did a good job taking down Crone Hellebron, getting that pick. But the rest of the battle didn't go quite as well here, as we do see the Cryptors going down. And I don't see too many chances for old Subutai to come back in this game. He's calling in Karen Race, basically just the dreaded trickle-down theory. But if we fast forward here, you guys are going to see it coming to an end. GG, well played. Fun match for sure. Cool to see Crone Hellebron in action. Medusas were very, very good. I think they were good at clearing out a lot of the chaff, but they also contributed very well to taking down the Von Karstein Lord. 2,300 here, 1,200 here. Crone Hellebron was haggard as usual. Just such a meme. And we do see 1,500 here, so good performance from the elite infantry. And of course, the repeater cavalry did well when they came in. For this build, a lot of ghosts. We had a lot of Halloween specials coming in, but they didn't seem to do super well. That was a big loss for Subutai in the beginning, calling in, a 1,400 gold cav unit and having it do basically nothing. I think was a big momentum shift on the battle. But overall, GG to both players. It was a lot of fun. We'll see you guys around. Take care of yourselves. And that is it for today.